It is 4:30 p.m., and I'm calling this meeting of the Design Review and Preservation Board to order. Recording Secretary, please call roll.
Thank you. Board Member Anderson.
Present.
Board Member Bisbee.
Present.
Board Member Ennis.
Present, and I'm making an announcement that I'm not listening to anything outside of this room. This is strictly for my hearing.
Thank you. Board Member Fagent.
Present.
Vice Chair Sharon.
Present.
Chair Jonas Carter.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all board members are present.
Item 2, we have none. Item 3, approval of minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes? I am going to abstain since I was not here. If there are no changes, the minutes are approved as submitted. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment on item 3.1, approval of minutes?
If you are in chambers and would like to make a comment on item 3.1, draft minutes, please make your way to the podium. Seeing no one, Chair?
I'd like to close public comment on approval of minutes. Item 4, public comment, non-agenda matters. We are now taking public comment on item number 4, non-agenda matters. This is the time when any person may address the board on matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Recording Secretary, can you please provide instructions to the public?
If you are in chambers and would like to make a comment on non-agenda matters, please make your way to the podium. Just give me a minute to put the timer.
There we go. Good afternoon, Chair and Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to speak just briefly on PG&E. And as we all know, PG&E was responsible for the fires. They were to pay the victims. They went through a complicated bankruptcy. They came out of the bankruptcy. They put the money aside. They were supposed to pay them. They still have not paid the victims, and it's 9 years later. And I just want this to be in the public mind because 6 or 8 weeks ago, the Board of Public Utilities that meets in the afternoon, met earlier today, they allowed an easement for PG&E at that time on Harville Road. I live in Rincon Valley. I'm about, I don't know, half a mile from that, I guess. And after that, I did speak that day. And after that, I know that there was a letter that was sent out and said, we will be paying you shortly. And, you know, it was sent out to the victims. So then nothing more was to come of that. And then shortly after that, I saw that the SEC was trying to, they were being in front of the SEC because they were evaluating the business to sell the utility to San Francisco. Now they've opened the nuclear facility restarted it over in Solano County, and then they are trying to not be responsible for the dams, and I'm not sure about a lot of that, whether they're trying to like give them back to the counties or what, but they're trying to get out of the liability for the dams over on some of the rivers in Central and going toward the coast. So PG&E has really become a problem, and during the windbreak 2 weeks ago, somebody died and 2 branches fell on a house just in my neighborhood. And I just want to remind people, if you see them getting close to your house or you have trees that are more solid, thin them out and get rid of the branches that hang over your house, because it's serious. And besides the fires, they can actually hit you and kill you. So they're supposed to be in the street and the highways, PG&E's responsibility too, but they're also not doing a good job with that. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Seeing no one else approach the podium, Chair.
I'd like to close public comment. Item 4, sorry, we already did that. Item 5, board business, statement of purpose. The Design Review and Preservation Board serves as the city's authority on design review and historic cultural preservation. The board is charged with considering the location, design, site plan configuration, and the overall effect of proposed projects upon surrounding properties and the city in general, as well as considering proposed alterations to properties within the city's preservation district and designated landmarks. The board shall compare proposed projects to the general plan, any applicable specific plan, applicable zoning code standards and requirements, consistency of the project within the city's design guidelines, architectural criteria for special areas, the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, and other applicable city and state requirements. Before we proceed, I'd like to briefly go over the Brown Act meeting procedures. As each item is introduced, the public will have an opportunity to speak during the public comment or public hearing portion for that item. Each speaker may comment once per item for up to 3 minutes. During the public comment period, the board does not engage in back and forth discussions with speakers. After everyone who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so, I, as the chair, will close the public comment period for that item. Once public comment is closed, there will not be another opportunity for comments or questions from the public on that same item. Any further discussion or deliberation will be limited to the board members, staff, and project applicants. Item 5.2, board member reports. Are there any board member reports? No. Seeing none, I'd like to close public comment. Item 5.3, vice chair election. We will proceed with the election or re-election of the vice chair of the Design Review and Preservation Board. Will any board members like to nominate themselves or another board member to be the vice chair of the Design Review and Preservation Board for the remainder of this year?
I nominate Adam to continue in that role.
Thanks, Drew. I accept, Chair.
Are there any other nominations? Great. Recording secretary, can you open public comment on item 5.3?
Thank you, Chair. If you are in chambers and wish to make a comment on item 5.3,
Excuse me, sorry. I didn't get a second on that.
oh, I'm so sorry.
I second the nomination.
Thank you. Okay, continue, recording secretary.
Thank you, Chair. If you are in chambers and wish to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium, and we do have a, just give me a minute, please. State your name for the record, and you have up to 3 minutes for your comment. And a countdown timer will alert you at the conclusion of the period.
All right. Janice Carmen here, and I'm too far away to be able to see all of your names, and I don't remember the fellow that is being your name, the fellow that's being nominated. Hi, but I've spoken with him before. I have encouragement that I think he will be a good chair for the board, and thank the previous chair for her efforts and attention to being the board chair for as long as she's been. So, but I'm just thinking, it's vice chair, so it's just trading the vice chair, is that right? Or is it? Is it for the chair? Oh, I'm sorry, no. Oh, I missed that part. But anyway, you're being nominated, and I have had times that I've spoken with you in the design review. And I think you're a good either vice chair or chair, depending on how it works out. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, Chair?
I'd like to close public comment on the vice chair election and ask the recording secretary to call for a vote.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Adam Sharon's name was moved by Board Member Fagent and seconded by Board Member Ennis. Board Member Anderson?
Yes, I agree with the nomination.
Board Member Bisbee?
Aye.
Board Member Ennis?
Aye.
Board Member Fagent?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sharon?
Aye.
Chair Jones Carter?
Aye.
Vice Chair Sharon is elected by all board members. Congratulations.
You don't have to change seats. Thank you, Adam, for all your work. Item 6, department reports. I would like to ask staff if there are any department reports.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Staff do not have any report, but I just want to remind you we still have one vacant seat on your board that we are still looking for that person. So if you are aware of anyone who is a historian, architectural historian, or archaeologist, please reach out to those people and let us know. Thank you.
I'm not sure if that was a report and I need to open public comment or if that was just an advertisement. Okay. I'd like to open public comment on item 6, department reports.
Thank you, Chair. If you are in chambers and wish to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium. Seeing no one,
I'd like to close public comment on item 6, department reports. Item 7, statement of abstention or recusals by board members. Are there any abstentions or recusals on item 9?
Yep, I have one. The firm I work at recently provided a proposal on the project, item 9 project. So therefore I will be recusing myself from reviewing the project.
Board member, can you name the project, please? Which project?
Stonehouse Hotel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.1, Design Review and Preservation Board Rules and Regulations. I'd like to entertain a motion from one of the board members for item 8.1.
I'll move to adopt consent item 8.1, Design Review and Preservation Board Rules and Regulations.
And can I get a second from someone?
I'll second.
Thank you. I'd like to open public comment on this item. Recording secretary, do we have any public comment on item 8, consent item?
thank you, Chair. If you are in chambers and wish to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium. Seeing no one, Chair.
I'd like to close public comment. I will now call for a vote on item 8.1. Recording secretary.
Thank you, Chair. Board Member Anderson.
Aye.
Board Member Bisbee.
Aye.
Board Member Ennis,
Aye.
Board Member Fagent,
Aye.
Vice Chair Sharon,
Aye.
Chair Jones Carter.
Aye.
That vote passes with 6 ayes.
Thank you. Item 9, our scheduled item. We're moving on to the first scheduled item, city asset naming and renaming. This item will be presented by Luke Fazer, Administrative Analyst with the City Manager's Office.
I couldn't decide which microphone to use, sorry about that. Good afternoon, my name is Luke Fazer. I work for the City Manager's Office as an analyst, as you mentioned. Thank you for having me here to present this item to you on the naming and renaming policy that was adopted by Council. I'll try and make this as entertaining as possible, but it does go through a pretty lengthy process, so appreciate you. Thank you. Now, today's presentation focuses on the role of the boards and commissions in the city asset naming and renaming policy process. It is to provide an overview of how applications will come before this board and what decisions you'll be asked to make during that process, and how your recommendations will move forward to City Council. During this presentation, you'll have the opportunity to see the full application process from start to finish, but I'll highlight some aspects of the process that pertain specifically to this body. Last year, Council Policy 0075 was adopted, and it was to provide guidelines on how the city-owned assets may be named or renamed by Santa Rosa residents and business owners. This was an initiative by City Council and the City Manager to expand and optimize policy procedures that were adopted 26 years ago. While boards were not formally consulted during the drafting of this policy, it was designed specifically to rely on the board's expertise during implementation, which is why I'm here today, before any applications come to you. These new guidelines were established to help promote equity and consistency in how proposed names are considered. Prior to this policy, prior to this new policy, renaming a city asset was nebulous and it lacked official guidance, leading to a long, drawn-out process that may take years. This new process aims to eliminate that ambiguity with standardization by providing templates for applicants to use and to use throughout. So right here, you'll see kind of an overview snapshot of the workflow here. I provided this just as just so you can get a brief overview there. Before an application reaches this board, which is step 2, BCC meeting number 1, it goes through the intake process. During that intake process, the City Manager's Office reviews the application for eligibility criteria and to make sure that the application has the appropriate supporting document as well as a petition. Once it's assigned by the city manager, then it would move on to the subsequent steps here, which includes meeting number 1, public outreach that's conducted by staff, and then there's up to 2 other meetings that can occur throughout this process, including the council study session and a city council public hearing. So this slide here just shows the overall staff involvement. It's just to provide an overview of who's involved from the city staff throughout this process. Your staff liaison is heavily relied on heavily to provide documents and updates to this board. So she'll be a good asset for you. I provided it just kind of a reference point, so if you have questions throughout the process, you know who may be a point of contact. All right. So the next couple slides here will walk through the entire process, indicated by that kind of meandering board game-like map there. It's color-coded, so you can kind of see which person is in charge of that step. So this would start at the application intake. So just as an example, let's say that a resident of the community wanted to rename Olive Park. So they would submit an application. It would go to the city manager's office. The staff there would evaluate for the criteria, make sure it had supporting documentation, and had the petition. The petition is a required step. It requires 1,000 signatures to be collected, 50% of which have to be residents or business owners within a half mile of that renaming asset. So once that is collected, then it would be up to the city manager to decide which board to assign it to. Since this is a park, it could go to the boards of Parks and Recreation, but since it's in the preservation district, it could also come before this board too. So in a hypothetical, I can't speak for what the city manager would decide at that point, but as a hypothetical, let's say it was assigned to this board. And then it would go through this next step on going on to meeting number 1. So here's where you can see where your staff liaison would schedule the meeting, draft a staff report, and then they would have the meeting here where the applicant would be presented to you all to make their case for why Olive Park should be renamed to whatever they decided it to be. And they would have 10 minutes to make that proposal to you all, after which there would be a call for public comment, motion would be initiated, calls for second, calls for a vote, and then let's say in this case, you would like to move on with that renaming of the park. This meeting, the purpose of this meeting is not a decision about the final name or a final recommendation to council. It's a discussion that determines whether the proposal should advance to the public comment section or not. It's important to note that during the application process, the applicants are required to select the naming criteria which they want, if it's about a outstanding individual or if it's a themed asset or anything like that. During the eligibility review, that naming criteria might be modified or revised. You also have an opportunity to make sure it meets that naming criteria or not. So after this board agrees to move it on, it would go on to the public outreach portion. This outreach is designed to reach beyond standard meeting notices and intentionally engage a broad and diverse cross-section of the community. And it may result in alternative names being proposed, either suggested by staff during their research or through additional applications presented by other members of the community. So in this case, the community engagement staff would distribute a survey to the neighborhood and park users and any businesses that may be impacted by a name change. They may also set up a community event to gather more feedback. The community engagement staff would also advise the community members that they will have 60 days past the close of that survey to submit any alternative names to be proposed. So for our example, let's say a business owner does not like the name that was proposed. They would submit an alternative name to the city manager's office with that petition again, and then it would be flagged to be presented here as an alternate name at meeting number 2. All right, so this meeting number 2 really follows the same format as meeting number 1. The only difference here would be that instead of seeing the original applicant again, you would be given the chance to see any alternative proposals. The staff report created by the staff liaison would also include any shortlist names that they might have recommended during their research, and it would also include any public reactions or support found during public outreach. So your role at this meeting is to evaluate each option's alignment with the policy to see if there's broad community support and the long-term appropriateness of the new name. Importantly, the naming policy does not replace your existing preservation responsibilities. Rather, it relies on your expertise to evaluate whether a proposed name supports historic context, integrity, and long-term understanding of the site. Your recommendations help ensure naming decisions align with your preservation principles. So, for example, at this stage, the board may recommend additional outreach and resulting in an additional board meeting where you can request further research to be done, or you can request additional names. But for the purposes of our example, let's say that you want to move on with just a short list of names, then provide that to council as your recommendation. Then it would go to a council study session. Here is where staff would present the information and research performed and have a discussion with staff, and have a discussion about the proposals. This allows an opportunity for council to learn about the applications and ask questions before the formal public hearing. So next we have the actual city council public hearing. This is where the board staff liaison writes the staff report and drafts a resolution that includes all of the work that has been done up until this point, including all the outreach, all of your expertise with your recommendation, and considerations from this board. Board recommendations are very important advisory input, but city council ultimately makes the final decision. The process is intentionally structured so that preservation concerns are formally evaluated and documented by this board, and your expertise is meaningfully considered before the council acts. So in our case, let's say that the council disagrees or agrees with your recommendations and says, oh, we like this name and we're going to adopt that. You'd go into a resolution, and then it would be the park would be renamed to whatever that resident decided on. Any costs associated with the renaming of that park or city asset would be up to the applicant to provide. The city council has an option to waive that cost, but it's at their discretion. The default would be the resident or the applicant would be responsible for the costs. So there are lots of good resources on our website, srcity.org. We have the hyperlink there, or the URL there. It includes the application packet itself, which not only includes an application that must be submitted, it also includes templates and very comprehensive guidance that have suggestions on how to help an applicant make the most compelling and strongest case. And it has petition guidelines and everything in there, which are very helpful. It also has the council policy 0075, so if you want to have a deep dive in there and review the criteria, I urge you to do so. It also has a comprehensive guide as well that's interactive, that does a more interactive and frankly more exciting version of the presentation I gave you today. So more colorful at least. So to close, it's important to remember that the city asset and renaming policy is designed to be transparent, and it's designed to be community driven with a special attention given to equity. This board's role is not to champion or oppose any individual proposals, but to apply the policy consistently and to evaluate whether applications meet the criteria adopted by council. This policy gives structure to that process, but it relies on this board's expertise to apply preservation judgment and within that structure to ensure community input has been meaningfully considered. At this time, I would like to thank you for your time today. I know that was a bit dry, but I appreciate your willingness to go through it with me. I'm willing to take any questions or anything you have. Thank you.
Are there any questions of staff?
I do have a question. I live in the West End Historic District, and the specific part of the district that I live in was originally Henry Theodore Hewitt's addition to the city. It was a subdivision at the time, early 19th century, and one of the streets is Hewitt Street. Henry Hewitt was spelled with an I, I-T-T, and Hewitt Street is spelled with an E, E-T-T. And there's always been this controversy in the neighborhood about which is correct, and I don't think it's that big of a deal, but if the neighborhood decided that they wanted it to be ITT, would it go through this entire process?
That's an interesting question because this naming policy has a carve-out for ceremonial street naming, but not specifically for street naming like that. So while this policy would apply specifically to ceremonial street naming, I'd have to do more research on how it would apply to an official street naming. And I say that specifically because that affects a lot of things beyond what this policy is meant to address. I'm sorry, I can't give you a direct answer on that, but.
That's fine, thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
One of the objectives was to improve the efficiency of this process. How is this more efficient than before?
Yes, thank you for your question. So prior to this new policy being adopted and these new frameworks going into place, there were no standardization of what was required, specifically what documentation would help guide a successful renaming campaign. So there was a lot of back and forth between an applicant and city staff, resulting in lots of hours of city staff being devoted to communication. The goal of this new standardization process with the guidelines and the comprehensive application packet is to help mitigate that back and forth, to streamline it and make it very consistently applied as well. So every applicant knows what type of supporting material is suggested, and to make sure that there's a process involved so staff know exactly what steps are next. Before, it was quite nebulous. As far as how has it improved the overall time frame, since an application has not gone through this process, it's brand new, I can't give you an exact time frame. I will be monitoring it specifically, so.
Any other questions?
Just a comment that, I appreciate all of the work that has gone into this. It seems that you've taken a program that was very opaque, as you said, nebulous, that probably, the names just kind of appeared, I bet, to people in the public. And so this is, I appreciate the emphasis on equity that you're doing, that this is community driven also, that this isn't something that is just, names appear from somewhere, or it's, friends of the city or whatever the appearance of any process or no process is there. This is, I appreciate that this is making it clear. It's almost like a permit process, that this is going forward. It's got steps, so everybody knows what's happening and everyone is being treated the same. So I think this is good because it really provides legs to stand on of why it provides intentionality for what the city's doing. So And it's community-driven, so thank you for that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Quick question is, on just the transparency of the cost, you said the applicant's responsible for the cost. Is that just for the application or like the after effects of updating things like signage, what have you?
Yeah, so that would be things like updating a plaque, or if there was some type of memorial thing that was going to be put up to say that, or in this case of the example for Olive Park being renamed, the signage being replaced and maintained, replaced. They would be responsible for the initial cost. The maintenance of that would be up to the Parks Department. It would be included with their regular maintenance part, what they do now. I hope that answers your question directly.
Any more questions? Seeing none, I'd like to open public comment.
If you are in chambers and would like to make a comment on item 9.1, please make your way to the podium. Please state your name for the record, and you will have up to 3 minutes for your comment. A countdown timer will alert you at the conclusion of that period.
Thank you. Janice Carmen, and I want to say I've been to at least 2, maybe 3 meetings regarding this topic, and it's really coming together. It's looking like it's really becoming something that people are going to be able to get their mind into and be able to follow through and do it and not just feel like they're in the middle of an ocean with no life support. But one phrase jumped out at me while he was giving the presentation, and I like this a lot: give structure to the process. This is the most structure that I've seen so far, because a lot of things were kind of like Mr. Sharon was talking about, very nebulous and undirected, and people would get into things like, oh, that costs too much money and it takes too long, and my dad was a vet, and a lot of that kind of thing was in the background, that people were more concerned about the fact that it was looking like it wouldn't even be hopeful. And I'm seeing that it's looking really hopeful today. And the other thing I want to talk about is that San Francisco has done this, and it was really confusing when we were going down there to an art exhibit, and we were trying to find Cesar Chavez and then Minnesota Avenue. And I'm hoping that when you do the streets, because the first presentation, they were talking about having the streets segmented. So you might have Mr. Don Jones there and Mr. Peter Wood over there or whatever. And it's really confusing, and it's really challenging, especially if you don't live, where that's happening. But I just don't think it has any coherency in any place, really. But the caveat to this is that it was Cesar Chavez, and now they've taken all the Cesar Chavez down, which brings up another question. If there is some controversy about someone, then what happens? Does that go right back on the platform to be renamed, or is it just no-name street for a while? The other is the first time I've heard today about waiving the costs. And when they first started talking about it, they were just giving a blanket $1,000. It would cost $1,000 to do something. But I think that there should be a schedule about things like that would have at least 5 things on it, and also a schedule about who gets waivers, because if there's not some definition around that, people could really find that very contentious and be saying, well, he got it, and I should too. So those are my points on this presentation, but I think the presentation was really good and helpful. Thank you.
Looks like we have no more comments, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to close public comment. Are there any more questions from the board? Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
We're going to move on to the next item, item 9.2. A public hearing for Stonehouse Hotel. Oh, sorry. Bye. Okay, we're moving on to item 9.2, a public hearing on Stonehouse Hotel. We are now moving on to a scheduled item 9.2, the public hearing for the Stonehouse Hotel Design Review. For this item, the board's review is limited to the project's site layout, architecture, appearance, design guidelines, zoning standards, and historic preservation requirements. The board is not reviewing or making decisions regarding the proposed hotel use itself. Do we have any ex parte disclosures on this item? Nate?
I visited the site.
Thank you. No?
I visited the site.
And I also visited the site. I would like to now invite planner Suzanne Hartman to start her presentation, followed by the applicant.
All right, there we go. Okay, thank you. So I am presenting the application night for the Stonehouse Hotel. Sorry, one moment, pressed the wrong button. There we go. Okay. So this application is for the design review of the construction of a new 70-room hotel with associated site improvements. Some of those improvements include an outdoor pool, a garden area, some courtyard spaces, and a major design review is required for all projects that involve 10,000 square feet or more in total floor area. Some history or a timeline of this project. It went in for a neighborhood meeting on July 15th of 2024. And then it was followed by a concept design review meeting on September 5th of 2024. And the application, or all applications, which includes the conditional use permit, hillside permit, and design review permit, were all submitted in the beginning of last year. And the Planning Commission public hearing was last Thursday on May 28th, 2026. The Planning Commission approved the major conditional use permit and hillside development permit last Thursday. And the Design Review and Preservation Board's review is, again, limited to the major design review for the proposed building, architecture, site design, landscaping, and all other materials that are related to design features. The project has been revised since the concept design review meeting. There's been removal of the freestanding bungalows that were in the rear of the existing stone house, kind of where the pool is proposed, as well as preservation of the southwest tree grove, and refining the hotel design and materials and layout. The current design also includes additional visual analysis, renderings, landscape plans, tree preservation and replacement information, and other technical studies that were provided by the applicant. The applicant team is here today, both in person and via Zoom, to answer any questions that you may have about the design as well as those technical studies. It should also be noticed that all all applicable staff, which includes planning, traffic, building, fire, they all did their review of this project as well, and found that the project is compliant with city standards and has been conditioned appropriately. So just some history of this site. So this project site includes the existing Stonehouse building and the adjacent vacant parcel, as seen on this picture above. The original building was constructed in 1909, and after a fire destroyed it, or destroyed the second floor, it was rebuilt entirely in stone in 1912. And over the following century, the existing Stonehouse building has been many types of uses, varying from a sanitarium to a restaurant and bar, a bed and breakfast, and present day as a bed and breakfast. And the project is preserving the stone structure in its entirety. The northern portion of the project's site slopes gently from west to east and is currently occupied by the Stonehouse building and existing parking lot, accessed through Highway 12. And the central portion has a large level pad and concrete retaining walls. There once was a warehouse there that was demolished some years ago. And the adjacent properties are single-family residential homes. The general plan land use designation is retail and business services, and the zoning district is planned development. The approved policy statement governs allowable land uses and permit requirements within this plan development area, and the policy statement does allow for hotels and motels and other related uses, subject to conditional use permit approval, which again was approved last week by the Planning Commission. This is the site plan. The project is proposing, again, it's 70 rooms in the new hotel, and then it will be 5 boutique hotels in the existing Stonehouse. They're also proposing 77 vehicle parking spaces, and 25 of those will be compact vehicle parking spaces. The proposed height of the hotel is 34 feet with a tower extending to 36 feet, which is allowable in this zoning or this policy statement, subject to approval through design review. And this is the elevation of the hotel seen from the north and east sides. Here are some renderings. The project, as you can see, it's proposing 3 stories with an in-ground parking garage, using a variety of natural materials that are warm and earth tone colors. And here's some additional renderings. And here you can see the pool area that is behind the existing Stonehouse and then right on the side of the proposed hotel. And this is the proposed landscape plan. Further detail has been attached onto the agenda. And you can kind of see the grove of trees that's planning to be preserved in that southwest corner there. This is the proposed retaining wall that is backing up by the pool area. It's going to be partially concrete and then wood site. So again, the existing Stonehouse building is going to be preserved in its entirety. The hotel building will be set back from Highway 12, and kind of the focus was to have the existing Stonehouse Hotel kind of try to be like the main imagery as you're going along Highway 12 there. and have the new hotel kind of be placed a little bit back and not be the center of attention, I guess, for the site. The materials include stone panel composite cladding, board-formed concrete, fiber cement siding, and warm earth tone colors. And it uses a contemporary expression while referencing the masonry character of the existing stone house building. The new hotel maintains a minimum of 20-foot setbacks. Some other design techniques that have been used to kind of address this project's impacts on adjacent properties is to, again, preserve that tree grove for a landscape buffer, as well as some vegetative screening along the property lines. All lighting will be downward directed, and some other inclusions are retaining walls and fencing sound walls and additional landscape screening. Public comments that have primarily been raised are concerns of noise and traffic safety, as well as neighborhood compatibility. All of these have been referenced in the staff report, and the staff analysis has concluded that the design review findings can be made. The project is consistent with the applicable general plan designation and all applicable general plan policies, as well as with applicable zoning designation regulations. It's also it's categorically exempt from CEQA guidelines section 15332. It's adequately served by all required utilities and public services. It would not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality. The project site has no value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species, and the proposed development occurs within city limits on a project site of no more than 5 acres. The project also qualifies for a streamlining pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15183, and that the project is consistent with the city's general plan and as evidenced by the special studies prepared for the projects. It is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Design Review and Preservation Board, by resolution, approve design review for a new hotel and associated site improvements located at 331 and 3555 Highway 12. My contact information is at the bottom of the screen. Again, we have the applicant team here, as well as some city staff for any questions, and we do have just a brief verbal presentation from our applicant. Thank you.
Is the applicant here for their presentation?
Good evening. I'm Randy Figueredo from Tierney Figueredo Architects. Suzanne's outlined sort of the major aspects of the project. The site design, and if we could put up the architectural site plan. Can you put up the actual, well, let's see. That's okay, I'll use this one. This is actually kind of the fire department plan, but that's, okay, landscape plans are better. So the site design was laid out with a few intentions. I mean, one was to integrate the existing stone house with the new hotel buildings. Right now, the existing stone house has a parking lot that sits behind it to the west. And you essentially just sort of walk out the door and you're pretty much in the paving of the parking lot. So we took that corner where the parking lot is, which is relatively level, turned it into courtyard, plaza, pool area, small dining patios west of the existing stone house, and then placed the good portion of the new hotel in the flat old concrete pad that used to have a warehouse, which if you walk the site, has some large retaining walls that have been crumbling over the last 20 years, and the ground's sort of been sloughing into them. So it's all areas and all slopes that have been, previously man-made and altered. We also wanted to preserve the trees along the northerly property line and preserve as much of the oak grove in the southwest corner, which is that upper right-hand corner of the site, which is, very steep, and have a portion of the new hotel look out onto it with, patios and courtyards. The building itself, the new hotel building has a parking level in the lower portion that sits down pretty much at the grade of the existing old warehouse concrete slab. And then the new hotel itself is built atop that so that the northerly portion of the hotel is 3 stories. And by the time you get to the southerly area of the hotel, it's a 1-story building. So the roof line is horizontal, and the lower levels sort of step up the hillside to minimize the amount of cutting we need to do. Even though along the west side, we still have a fairly deep cut because that's the existing cut where the warehouse was. So essentially, we're kind of replicating the retaining wall that was there years ago when the warehouse was there. Building the parking garage, we're going to backfill some of the soil in that area and level that out a little bit more. The surface parking, which we tried to minimize, is going to be to the west of the new hotel building, which is the frontage on Highway 12. We've built proposing to build some stone gabion walls along that frontage mixed in with the trees, and we're trying to block out the view of that lower level of the hotel, the new hotel, as much as possible. So we've done some renderings that I believe are in the packet, and have some site sections in the packet that show line of sight from the cars going through there, and where for most of the time you're on Highway 12, it looks like you're going by pretty much a 2-story building because you can't really see the parking garage level. Parking is going to be valet parking. We have a couple of valet drop-off spots in front of the new hotel. And that way we can maximize the number of cars in that lower level partially underground parking and minimize the surface parking on the site. The existing stone house was constructed in 1909 and 1912 of gray tackite from local quarries. It's a stone that's similar to basalt. And it's got even though it's not on a historic register, it's a fairly distinctive building in the history of Santa Rosa. And we're trying to retain its architectural prominence. When I came through concept design review, we didn't have a landscape architect. We hadn't really fully fleshed out the site design. I presented a concept of a building that had a hip roof tower and, tried to mimic the stone on the stone house a little. After that meeting, I went back and looked at what it would take to integrate the two buildings more in terms of the materials, and I really didn't like the, that direction. It made the new hotel look too heavy and cartoony, and I decided to follow another approach that the Secretary of the Interior recommends for historic buildings, which is to simply differentiate them from the old building and let them stand alone. So we tried to take some of the gray stone, clad some of the tower elements on the new hotel to relate to those colors on, that were in the existing stone house, and then took the remainder of the hotel, made it, very contemporary, tried to do horizontal and vertical, wood on it, try to make it disappear as much as possible into the wooded areas that completely surround it. And then the landscape architect did a fabulous job kind of creating an outdoor area and a lot of hardscape, board formed concrete walls that really kind of tie the two buildings together. So then that way the existing stone house really has a very interesting outdoor area that serves it. The new hotel, in the concept design, we presented a concept design review board. I think only one or two of you were actually on the board at that time. We had the primary lobby was in the existing stone house, and I kind of took some of the board's suggestions at that time, and I created a lobby level in the new hotel building, so you can kind of go directly from your cars and the drop off into the lobby and up into the elevator and up into that building, and then you cross over into the existing stone house if you want to go there, because it only is going to have 5 rooms in it, and the rest of the existing stone house will be, management offices. There's a existing commercial kitchen, dining area, really nice antique lounge. So that'll be the sort of lounge area that you hang out at and sit at the bar and use the dining patios, and connects into the plaza and the pool area. The other thing we worked with was, obviously it's a very steep site in portions. It's got an entry that's existing, and fire department wanted an EVA. So the EVA is coming off of Sunridge, which is where the fire department wanted it, which is in that lower left corner. The main entry is where it currently is. We're just going to, improve that driveway. It comes into the site. It continues all the way to the west, which is up the sheet. And that's actually a hammerhead at the far west end for the fire department. And there's also a connection to a vehicle gate in the upper right-hand corner, which the fire department didn't consider a true EVA because of its width. But there is a deed and an easement that connects to the driveway of that neighborhood house in the upper right-hand corner. And so we've left that in place, even though it's technically not a fire department EVA. We have the entire project team here, either via Zoom or the landscape architect is here in person. But if you have any questions for our traffic engineer, civil engineer, the acoustical consultant, biological consultant, they're all available. I'm going to have the landscape architect do a brief presentation of her concepts, because they sort of touch on some of the comments from the concept design review board meeting, which dealt with fire safe planting and integration of hardscape and into the area between the two buildings. Suzanne suggested that I touch upon the items that we discussed at the concept design review. And I know in the package there's a PDF that's kind of a lengthy response from me to all the individual board members' comments. So I don't know if I need to walk through some of those, or if you've read those and can just ask me questions, later in the meeting. Anyway, Taya, if you want to come up. Taya is the landscape architect, was the designer on that portion of the project.
Hi, I'll be brief. I think that Randy kind of explained the spaces and the approach to the spaces pretty well. I think that mostly like with materials, we want to try and stick with local materials that, are of the Santa Rosa feel, and the same thing with our planting approach. The materials are use as much stone as possible rather than concrete, though there is some concrete because it's best for ramps and accessibility and things like that. And then some wood that can naturally weather, like gravels and decomposed granite. We do have some permeability areas that we need to have permeable paving, so we're able to address that with like cobbles, stone cobbles and gravel and that sort of thing. But all of it has a very warm, earthy tone. And, obviously the stone house and, that the feel of that, trying to keep connected with that. And then the board form walls too are just, they just have kind of a more relaxed feel to them than, a more slick kind of approach to concrete. So we introduced some of that as well. Planting, same thing. We really wanted to stay native as much as possible, low water use, durable. And also with the trees, we did have tree replacement that we needed to fulfill. So we have a lot of new oaks and going into some of the open areas as much as we could fit, and without not crowding too much. And then, of course, there's issues with fire now, which are changing all the time. And I know in January, a new ordinance came about, and so this was done a year ago. So maybe we'll probably need to be looking at that again during the next phase. And but we've got that 5-foot offset that a lot of jurisdictions are not allowing anything, but when we did this, we stuck with succulents and things that were going to be allowed, agaves, in that zone. And then again, in the next zone too, like looking at plants, now it's become more strict about selecting things that are actually approved. So we will be looking at that again during the next phase too, to make sure we're conforming to all of those requirements. And then as far as the connections to the hotel, the sloping of the site was great because it allowed us to terrace it and create these separate spaces that can be flexible, as a hotel would be. Everyday use, you got your movable, we didn't do a lot of like permanent fixtures, so you could have movable furniture and spaces that can be adaptable to different kind of uses. And then, lighting was really fun, just kind of creating a kind of an ambiance feel to it, keeping it subtle but safe, thinking about safety too. And yeah, it was really fun to choose the materials and selecting the plants and making this design nice and make a nice connection to between the two buildings. And I think it's going to be a great project.
Thank you. At this time, we can take questions from the board. Sure.
Thank you. I have staff questions, 2 questions. Just to clarify for everybody, this is not a non-landmarks review.
Correct.
Okay. Second question. There's no color board for the building in the packet. Was there a color board at some point in time, or any information provided showing the detail of the cladding on the building?
let me look through the project plans. I think there was one page that had materials on it. Sorry.
I can ask the applicant to clarify in that case. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe we did have a material sheet as part of our submission package. Yeah, Suzanne, it was one of the sheets that was added was sheet X1.
Can you say the sheet number?
Well, actually, X1 has the board form concrete and the fence. It may have been an 8.5 by 11. It was submitted early on. This was originally submitted back in January of 2025, so I am not recalling exactly what was submitted to the city at that time.
We can look around a little bit, and in the meantime, if there's other questions while we look. Okay, thank you.
Sure, go ahead, finish.
I have applicant questions too, but I thought we were asking staff first. So on the stone composite cladding, that's what I want to ask about. Oh. Can you describe what it is? I can see it's gray. On the elevations, it kind of shows score lines that look almost like control joints, but it's hard to tell if it's textured or untextured. It sounded like from your presentation that perhaps it's untextured, which would be fantastic, but I can't tell.
Yeah, no, it's not a heavy, I mean, it's nothing like the Stonehouse stones. It's a very lightly textured, very smooth. It's a fairly thin panel, and there are metal control joints that are between them, so you just get the stone color and appearance, but it doesn't have a, you know, a faux stone texture to it.
Okay, a second question. Was there any effort to reuse the stone on the site that's on the site? There are some large outcroppings on the site. Are those things that could be reused for gravel or paving or something?
No, that's a great suggestion, but that hasn't been discussed.
Would you, there's a stairway at the south. I assume that's for fire access.
Yes, it's fire access only. It'll be gated. Okay. So it's essentially, I don't know, fire department pedestrian hose pull EVA in a way. But yeah, it's not intended for.
Would you be open to eliminating it if there was another way to comply with the hose pull?
If the fire department would accept that. I mean, right now it provides access to that southwest corner of the building. And then it gives you the 150-foot hose pull down the.
Okay. Part of the reason I'm asking is I saw a building requirement for a ramp to go with it. So
yeah, I believe.
I would support removing it if you wanted to avoid a ramp and there was another way to comply.
Yeah. No, I think what's going on is on our concept design review submittal, we had shown a stairway there, and that was kind of back when there were bungalows in that part of the site. And so I think that's what's generating that comment. I think the fact that it's strictly a non-public EVA, that I don't believe the ramp requirement is going to apply.
Hi. I really like the gabion wall at the front a lot. And I noticed a letter from one of the neighbors talking about the fence or wall between the project and their property and their concern about fire, and that there was wood proposed potentially. I'm wondering if you would consider more of the gabion there, or concrete at the bottom as a retaining wall with the gabion above it?
I think currently in our presentation, what we're calling out is it's a concrete retaining wall with either a wood or a horizontal plank concrete sound wall. I mean, the wood would also be designed as a sound wall, but that was an option, and we could certainly do it as a concrete plank wall. I mean, it'd have a little different look, obviously, than the wood wall. But if fire is a concern, my client, I'm sure, wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I hope you'll be sensitive to that adjoining neighbor and go with the concrete option versus the wood. I know that if I was in their situation, would be unhappy about wood.
Yeah, no, we could certainly do that.
Thank you.
Any other, Ingrid?
I had a question for staff on the parking. There are 77 spaces provided. How does that work for the number of guests in a 75-room hotel if there are also all of the staff members and potentially guests from the neighborhood who want to use the restaurant or the bar?
So the parking requirement in our zoning code is that the project needs to provide a parking space per unit. So because they're proposing 75 spaces and they are proposing 77, they are meeting that requirement. There's no other analysis that's put into that.
How does that historically work in existing hotels when there's a full capacity?
So zoning code requires certain parking requirement for the use, and this project meets with that requirement. And since the restaurant and the bar are only for the guests, there won't be any outside guests, so we're not going to analyze them separately. Our zoning code basically says uses for a hotel and accessory uses for the proposed use. And I can look at the exact number for a hotel. Is it per room, I think, correct? So it's per room. Yeah, that's how it's required by the code. And this project meets the requirement.
Adam?
No questions, thank you.
Sorry, I had a question for the applicant. So what's typically this number of staff that would be working at this hotel during the current day? Cleaning people, cooks, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, when I researched that, it seems like the way the ordinance is written and the way the parking numbers work out is that hotels typically have, a reasonably high vacancy factor. I mean, sometimes as much as 20 to 40%, and that's where the extra parking is for staff. And that's why the parking numbers are simply related to the rooms. We're not planning on having any on-site facilities the way a large hotel might. I mean, there is no laundry room. Everything's going to be done off-site. So those workers aren't present.
So you don't know?
I don't know off
Okay,
the top of my head.
okay.
But again, it's built into the parking numbers, the vacancy factor. That's what allows that.
Is there a signage package that we?
No, at this time, I mean, I'm showing a monument sign, a location at the entrance, but the signage is going to be brought in completely separately at a future date.
And is there detail for like the exercise room or the bar that's at the top? The materials for that? I couldn't find.
In the package, the exercise building and the outdoor bar is part of the elevations, are shown on the elevation package.
There's material detail for those in the packet?
Yeah, it's material, it's similar material as the hotel.
Okay, thank you. I'd now like to open public, if there are no further questions, I'd like to open public hearing on this item 9.2, recording secretary.
Thank you. If you are in chambers and would like to make a comment on item 9.2, please make your way to the podium. We will be utilizing both east and west podiums and allowing up to 3 minutes for each public comment. Please speak close to the microphone and use the button at the sides of the podium to adjust its height if needed. Also, you may state your name for the records if you choose to do so. We will start with the west podium, the one on my left.
Thank you. Janice Carmen. I have to say that this is one of the most specific building plans I've seen in 20 years. And I have to say it was expressed with wonderful passion and interest, and they've hit a lot of the high notes. And if they've missed something, I'm sure you're not going to. And I do hope that you continue to come forward with it, because it would be terrible if they built it and anyone forgot anything that they really had in their mind at some point and didn't do. But I want to say that I'm very excited about this, and I'd like to see the current tourism of Santa Rosa change. I was in the wine industry for a long time, and the wine isn't actually the top maker anymore, but I have been privy to some meetings where we're starting to think in different directions. And the one part that kind of threw me was the part about not having large, I don't know how you put it, gatherings or something. I understand, like, maybe no weddings or whatever, but what about 70 rooms? You know, that could be the kind of thing that conventions could possibly come to. And I love that the stone house is being done. I love the artistic, aesthetic approach to what they've done. They seem like they've just really thought of a lot of things that are really appropriate and make it, they've painted a picture in our minds about what they're trying to do, and I'm very excited about this. My parents built a house on Summerfield Road in the 60s, and that was exciting, but that's a long time ago, and I moved 3 miles away to a house that was 1 year old, and I'm still living there. So I just think it's a great project, and I'm glad that it's all moving along. One of the things that I was concerned about before they really started talking is the entry onto Highway 12. But I also love the idea that it's along Highway 12, which is the gateway to the Valley of the Moon, Sonoma, other places, and also is going to be coming toward Calistoga Road, where you're close, and you go into the hills and go that direction as well. The location is fantastic. So, I don't know, it's mostly just comments that I think this is a great project. One thing I thought about, because I'm not up to code on everything that they have to do in the new hotels, is having sprinklers for the fires. And I would think that that would just be a regular thing. But I don't know, because I'm not familiar with the code for that. But I hope that this moves along and that nothing holds it up and that there's no homeless living in it at any part like there was at COVID after the Flamingo was remodeled. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
All righty, I'm double checking it. You're on the public hearing for Stonehouse?
That's correct.
My name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. But all my life, I've been going out to that area near the Stonehouse. As a Boy Scout, that was rural, and we'd go to Brush Creek Road and all kinds of nice stuff out there. I support this project. I have no financial interest in any way, shape, or form. I do believe that this type of activity is going to be helpful for that community, and I do believe if they were able to use what are called prefabricated modular building components, they could get it done quickly, and it'd be nice. This has been happening at other hotels in Petaluma, over here in Santa Rosa, the AC Hotel, right there off of Lower 4th Street, use that same type of building approach, got it done quickly. It's a great way to get something going and to revitalize a commercial entity at that spot. The Stonehouse is a historic spot now after all these years. This will be a way in which you can get more people to enjoy that basic corner there that hasn't really been active for a number of years. So, never met any of these people involved, don't know anybody in any way, shape, or form here. I just came because I've been going by that place all my life, and I think this is going to be helpful for it. And it was just fate that I got here in time for the hearing. Thank you kindly for your time.
Thank you.
It seems we don't have any other comments, Chair.
I think there's a few coming.
Oh, apologies.
Yes, my name's Greg Hamblin. I live at 128 Massimo Circle. I'm adjacent to the vacant 2 acres. Hardscape, a swimming pool, and alcohol is going to be a lot of noise. I looked at some of the acoustical engineer specs and some of the additional details, and the first thing that came to my mind was the wall that separates our property and the Stonehouse. And it's identified as an 8-foot-high precast concrete plank or an overlapped wood board fencing. Now, the STC rating on 4-inch concrete is 45 to 48, which is pretty decent, whereas wood is half of that. It's 24 to 28. The concrete's good for traffic noise, voices, things of that nature, but the wood fence does very little. And its concrete is monolithic, so the sound is just gonna bounce off of it. Kind of like directly across from the Stonehouse is a CMU wall that they built when I think Young America went in. It makes more sense for the noise reduction, and the concrete's non-combustible, which is a big deal, especially nowadays. Concrete, a 4-inch concrete wall has a 2-hour fire rating, whereas a wood fence has no fire rating. Just yesterday, the fire department was at our house to do an inspection, just a free inspection, and walk around our house. We got maybe it's a half acre, and the only thing that got his attention was where we had shrubbery within that 5-foot distance to the house, which I'll address for sure. And I didn't realize, well, let me go back. And where we live, all the houses that are adjacent to me, we all had State Farm insurance. We all got dropped. And our homeowners insurance quadrupled. And I don't know, it's coming up again in September, we'll see. And I'm not using the FAIR plan either. And I did not realize that we're located in the, whoops, I'm not too good at that.
Hello, my name is Roy Teixeira, and I live at 124 Massimo Circle. And when you showed the map, I was at the triangle at the top. I don't know anybody here that has as much interest in this hotel as I do, maybe 2 other families. My bedroom will be within a few hundred yards from liquor parties at the pool. I know what these parties are. I've been to enough business meetings to know how these parties go. And in the middle of the night, I'll tell you one thing. To begin with, I don't even know how in the hell they ever decided to allow a hotel to even be built in the Stone House. I hear that they got a permit in 1909. In 1909, the #1 car going by highway, first of all, they had no speed limit there at that time. But the #1 car that went past it was a Ford Model T. The other cars that went through were steam engine cars. They had no speed limit because those cars never went over 20 miles an hour, between 7 and 20 miles an hour. The reason for that is they didn't want to hurt the horse and wagons that were going past there. But today, everything's the same, right? The traffic hasn't changed. People still go 7 miles an hour past there. I'd like you to go down on Highway 12, going towards Farmers Lane at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You won't even make it to the lights within two turns. That's how heavy the traffic is there. Nobody, I don't care what the speed limit is, nobody goes on that road less than 40 miles an hour. And to begin with, who the hell knows how they're going to take a right-hand turn into the hotel? I mean, that's beside the point. The whole thing is inappropriate. And I'll tell you one thing: if and when it is built, and I hope that day never comes. And the first squeak I hear in the morning, middle of the day, or at night, the police will be on the site, and they better be there, because if they're not, they better be there. And I'm trying to think. I don't have a notebook full of data like the applicant and everybody else. I do know that I'm concerned for my property. I've been living there 42 years, and I don't need. As I said, I'm the one who cares about this, not the people who tend to make money off of it. Me, I live there. My bedroom is going to be 200 yards from the pool party. And I hope in the hell this thing never goes through. And if we want to know who's against it, it's me, Roy Teixeira. I care about this goddamn neighborhood, and I don't want this hotel being next to my bedroom, okay? Good luck. Now the penalty clock is about ready to run out, so I better go.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Desideri, and I live directly west of the Stonehouse property. I'm a little concerned about a 3-story building next to my property, looking down on my property. One of my biggest issues is I don't think they're even renting the 15 or 14 rooms they have now, and to add 70, it seems like total overkill. My biggest issue is we're the first house on Sunridge Drive. And people come off of that highway like you wouldn't believe. And can I bring, can she bring up the floor or the plan again? No? Because it looks to me like there's the original entrance, and then there's another one closer to Sunridge Drive. And I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a major accident if somebody's coming out of that second driveway. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would still like to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium. It seems now we don't have any more comments, Chair.
I'd like to close the public hearing on this item. Do members of the board have any more questions for staff or the applicant?
I also wanted to add that we found the materials section. It was not included in the project plans, but I can pull it up on the screen now and we can add it to the package after the meeting. Let me pull it up. Okay. Oops. There we go. So we have gray stone siding, vintage wood siding in both cedar and bark colors, and a standing seam metal roof are the materials shown on the screen.
Can you make that any bigger?
Yes, is there a particular one that you want to zoom into or just the whole page?
The whole page, unless you want to see them individually.
Is that a little bit better?
Yes.
Can the applicant please tell me what vintage wood is actually made of? Is it wood or is it?
No, it's a composite pre-stained material.
Is it a, like Hardy has a vintage look and it's concrete? Is that?
It's similar, yes. It's a similar product.
Okay, thank you.
Can you describe the roofing material for the flat roof?
Well, the flat roof is just going to be a TPO.
Color?
Well, I assume the architect doing the construction documents isn't going to make it white, because that wouldn't be great for the neighbors, so it'll probably be, some grayish. And the standing seam metal that's on here, there's only one tiny portion of the building that has the standing seam metal on it, so.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. Chair, that's me. We'd like to open this up for discussion.
You need to make a motion first.
Thank you, sorry. I knew I was stuck there. We need a motion.
I'll move I move the resolution of the Design Review and Preservation Board of the City of Santa Rosa, granting major design review approval for construction of a new 70-room hotel building and associated site improvements located at 3331 and 3555 Highway 12, Assessor's parcel numbers 181-120-033 and 181-120-034, file number PRJ 25-0101, parentheses DR 25-002, and parentheses, and waive further reading of the text.
Would someone please?
Second.
Thank you. We'll now receive short comments from the board. Or they can be long comments also. I'm going to start with Nate.
Thank you. Thanks, applicant, for your presentation. Appreciate it. Overall, I think this is a really good use of a challenging site in the city. The project's checking all the boxes with its use permit, approval, hillside approval, consistency with the general plan and design guidelines. According to staff, thank you. I think the design goals and objectives are clear. I really appreciate how the building is set back, how it's subordinate to the stone house. It's not touching the stone house, and there's a good gap between the two. I know the setback is functional too for sound, so that's great. But that space in between is really taken advantage of as well for pedestrians, and that's a really nice touch. The landscape presentation packet drawings are wonderful. Thanks for bringing up the materials. That's what was the kind of missing piece. Overall, it's a really good project in my opinion. In terms of suggestions, I think it's really important that the roof is not white, bright white. I know it has to comply with cool roof requirements. There's a default gray and a default tan, but I think that's a really important point to adhere to it in some fashion if there's a way to do that. There's also some paint colors. There's a red color shown. There's some concrete columns that are painted and a kind of an eve line at the entry to the lobby on the new building. It'd be nice to know what that color is more precisely, but generally I think that an accent color is okay and red is okay for that function to identify that moment. In terms of the paints on the siding, the wood textured siding, I know it's cement board, but the textured siding, as well as the paint that's used on those columns, I would just suggest that it's a flat or a matte, nothing shiny. Again, to kind of set the building back from the stone house, which is also rusticated, not a shiny, glossy building. I appreciate the overall attempt to make the building appear short, appear kind of rectangular in massing. I think that's really important because, again, we have a rectangular the Galeazzi house is rectangular, and that has great value, and I think it's nice that the applicant has presented something here that's subordinate to that. I think that's all the comment I have for now. Thank you.
Drew? She's Adams. I'm so sorry.
Sure, thank you, Chair. Yes, thanks, applicant team. Good to see this come back. I was on the board when this came a couple of years ago. Thanks, staff, for shepherding this through also. Certainly it's been a journey. It sounds like there's been tons of work done on this. Yeah, I was really interested to see what you guys were gonna come back with. Yeah, you can tell that a lot of thought, a lot of rethinking has gone into it. Randy, as you mentioned, what you brought before had kind of a different ideas, different referencing of the site and the stone house. In a way, it wasn't certain at that point. You know, it's part of the design process of which way to go, and you've definitely chosen a direction at this point. And I think it's the rather than kind of mimicking or blatantly referencing the stone house, you're choosing that differentiation route and going to be complementary. As Nate mentioned, it's subordinate too. I see it as a lot of times we ask to break up massing and to have the more articulation, but I think the simplicity of what you guys have really allows the stone house to be the focal point. Even more so, I think this is a great example of that collaboration of landscape and architecture and civil too. You guys have really maximized the use of the site. I saw 3 stories. I saw lots of tree removal, heritage trees. Was wanting to see what the details were going to be, and I feel like this is a great example of seeing the issues, seeing the constraints, and responding to them as well. You've preserved trees, you're adding trees, you've got a great tree, and the landscape palette is responsive to what's here. It's big things. Having this be a hotel facility within a neighborhood on a highway presents a lot of challenges, and so you've created something that references the exterior of the stone house, but you've almost created like a compound here, which is really nice. And that's like not in like a negative sense of compound. It's insular, which is good, and I think it's going to be an asset for the area. It's activating this area, but it's also going to be a great new event space and facility for the city too. It's creating something that it's a good use of the space. Certainly would love to see Highway 12 be managed differently and calmed and different traffic patterns, but that's a Caltrans question, and the city has much purview over that, so you guys are dealing with what you're dealing with here. And so what you've done with I drive past this many times a week, and the gabion walls that are there, now they provide it's kind of like with that stepping of the landscape, you got low to high, and so it's providing different levels of that stone that's going there. Continuing that along the western side of the parcel is going to tie in there and going into that Sunridge area. The choice of trees there, great. You've got native tree species scattered all around the site, but then right at the entrance area, you've got those Chinese elms, which is great because they're going to be big and dense, and it's going to be great for sound suppression, but also for visual suppression too. So, I think this is going to be it's a sensitive use of the site. One suggestion, also going with salvaging some of the stone that's on the site too, with removing some of these heritage trees. If there's anything to be salvageable, keep referencing the history of the site. Use some of the wood. Use some of the trunks, the trees, create benches. Use them. Maybe there's a small little play area for kids who come, something like that. Some little feature that can be used. It's having a new facility that's got this beautiful building there. Really keep referencing. Have that be the driving force. Have this new use of a historic site. So. Really pleased with the responses to what this board in particular had, the feedback we gave you, and this is a great job on really fleshing this out. So thanks very much.
Chair, do you have any discussion?
I read through, I wasn't on the board when it came for concept, and I read through your comments, and I agree with what was just said, that you really did make some very significant changes. And I really like that you're not trying to reference the stone house in a mimicking kind of way. So thank you for that. And I just want to say again that I hope that for the neighbors' sake that the fences will be concrete rather than wood.
Ingrid?
I agree with what the other board members said. I just have a few additional comments. I agree that the landscape design is really superior, and the provision of the pedestrian interconnection between the existing property and the new building, the great variety and the hierarchy of landscape spaces is also really attractive. Even the parking lot, I think, will be really attractive, and the embedding the building in the hill is a very sensitive way to deal with the hillside. And intentional opposition, when you're building within a historical fabric, is a very valid and workable option. We see examples of that everywhere. But I do believe that the architect still needs to be really sensitive. If the massing and the size of the building can't be compatible with what's around it because of the function scale elements or tools to provide scale should be considered as the third option to make the differentiation happen, but also compatibility happen. And so I think this is a good project, but I think another alternative way to do the roof might have been to provide some sort of an overhang, even if in a flat roof, just like the stone house has an overhang, or some awnings at some of the windows that are more visible to the public. And then the other, I think, option I would have considered is to study the void to solid relationship that's at the stone house with their fenestration, and maybe take some inspiration from that in the proposed building design. But otherwise, I do think that it's a good project.
Yeah, I guess my only comment is I wish we had had the materials palette to study a little bit more in advance, because I couldn't tell you what is happening with the building. That's just me personally. So I'm really missing that. And I think that was my biggest issue, because I think, I don't know what the stone is gonna look like. And I think that's an important thing to see the references between the stone house, even though you're not trying to mimic it, but I don't know what it's gonna look like. And that's an issue for me. Anyone have anything else?
Chair, can I ask a question? I heard there were comments about the fence and concrete. Would you like to make that as a condition? Because if you want to add condition to this project, you can.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes, we will. So some people are fairly new to the board, and what we can do is tell the applicant what we would like for them to improve on the project. So if the fence is something that we really think should be changed, we can make that a condition for the applicant. And we just have to tell staff what we want. So if we don't want the wood cladding on top and we want it to be all concrete, that could be the condition. And then staff works with the applicant unless we tell them exactly what we want. Someone can take a stab at saying that.
Okay. I'd like to suggest some conditions. That the top portion of the west wall be designed for a higher STC than a wood fence would allow. Not that it necessarily matches the wall below, otherwise we're going to have a 16-foot high board form wall, but that the top half use alternative materials that can, or construction assembly that can achieve a higher STC of 45. And then another condition that the roofing, the flat roof, TPO roof.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Do we have that?
Hold
Yes.
on. We need to make a friendly amendment. These conditions have to come through a friendly amendment, so make sure to mention that. And the process is that the person who opened the motions on the motion should mention that we have a motion, and the person who seconded that has a second. So let's say friendly amendment.
Okay.
And Jessica, if I'm missing anything. But
Friendly amendment?
yeah, but we will need to repeat that one to make
Okay.
sure we get it correctly.
Yeah, so we just need to make clear that the conditions that you're suggesting are through a friendly amendment, and then the person who made the motion needs to accept that friendly amendment, and then the person who seconded would second it.
Who, I think it was you.
Go for it.
Well, notice how it goes is that you say, I would like to make a friendly amendment, and then say your amendment. So you could just say that. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment,
I would like to make a friendly amendment
and then say that condition as you said it before, and then we're good.
that the upper portion of the west wall be designed in such a way that it maintains an STC rating of 45 or better.
And is there a
Can
second
we do them all
required?
at the same time? Yes, so if you have another one, we
I would
can
like to make a friendly amendment that the TPO roof be non-white, non-reflective.
And just to clarify, these are shells. Okay.
And then you ask me if I accept.
Do you accept the friendly amendment?
I do.
And who second?
I second.
Will you accept the friendly amendment? Did you accept? Who second?
Board Member Bisbee.
Okay. So you have to accept the friendly amendment.
I accept the friendly amendment.
It's good.
Thank you. Okay. Now, if someone else has conditions, Ingrid? No? No? Did you want something about the wall?
It's already.
Okay. All right. Then, do you need something repeated? I know.
The rating on the wall, if you could repeat that again.
45.
45.
Could we, could we get a material palette? I mean, I know it's after the fact, but we make a condition that you, staff, get the complete material palette as well?
Yes, we can make that a condition. So would that be a friendly amendment?
I would like to make a friendly amendment that staff be presented with a complete material palette for the project. Do you accept my friendly amendment?
Say it. I do. I accept.
Do you accept the second of my friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. Very good. We're going to go to a vote. Recording secretary.
Thank you, Chair. The resolution was moved by Vice Chair Sharon and seconded by Board Member Bisbee. Board Member Anderson?
I accept that. I approve.
Board Member Bisbee?
Approved.
Board Member Ennis?
Aye.
Board Member Fagent recused himself. Vice Chair Sharon?
Aye.
Chair Jones Carter?
Aye.
The vote passes with 5 ayes.
Please note, this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 20-62.030. This meeting of the Design Review and Preservation Board is now adjourned.